God, I'm getting all this chem fluid and stuff, and none of it I can carry, because I have a surplus of ammunition, for a change. That would have been nice back when I was still in the Baker estate, but whatever. Oh, more mag ammo. I just dumped mag ammo. Yeah, you're leading me into a trap, aren't you, Evie? I'ma burn it. I'ma burn it all. Time that you die in a fire, creature. Ow. Yeah, I know it's not dead. Need to buy myself a chance to reload. Whoop. Nope, got its head. We're good. It's not the weapon I wanted to select, but it works. And where do you lead? Just burn. Just die in a fire. God, do they have to make the sword ones so much tougher than the regular ones? It's bad enough they deal more damage. So Eveline seems aware that we're a threat now, because we've got the goo that will bring about a swift end to her evil ass. For God's sakes. I hate those things. Discount liquors. Have a seat. Oh! Oh! Oh, is that as good for you as it was for me? I doubt it. We're coming, Evie. We know the solution for you, Big E. Oh, I didn't know they came in extra large. Bye. Can I get around you? Shonky? God. Okay, we need the remote bombs, but they're not in my hotbar. Let's fix that. Get out of the inventory, Ethan. Ooh, okay, well that's the little one. Now we just gotta deal with extra chonky. Suppose I could have just run past them too, but where would the fun of that have been? Yes, the horror aspects of the game are starting to diminish now that I have a freaking arsenal of deadly weapons. Well, we're out of the salt mine. Didn't miss anything, did I? It doesn't matter. I probably missed plenty of things. Aha! Well, what's the point of giving me the mine map now? I'm already out of the mine. Oh, where's Granny? I hear a bobblehead. Oh, this seems familiar.
It's not here. It's gone. It's gone!
Chill out, Mia. Okay, one thing I do know, the burner is not going to do me any good against what's coming. Item box? I'd like an item box.
This is your fault.
Why am I seeing this?
'Cause Evie's in your head.
Ethan, it's okay.
Oh, not this again.
I know you didn't mean to hurt me.
Kill him, Mommy.
But you shouldn't have done that! It fucking hurts!
He doesn't want to be my daddy? Then he can die. Now it's Mommy's turn to kill you.
Yeah, I have, several reasons that's not gonna work. Several hundred, in fact.
You're gonna be one of us. And then maybe you'll play nicely.
I'm not playing.
No! Get that away from me!
Don't need your pity.
Okay, so is that like a no? Yeah, because that door is not doing anything. Upstairs it is, I guess. Okay, well, she's spazzing out. Eveline!
Get away! No, you don't! No! Get back! Get away!
I was blocking! Don't even give me that shit. Yes, use that mechanic that we introduced in this game and that you're utterly unprepared for.
No, you don't! No, don't!
Here I come, Evie!
No!
Tag! You're it!
No!
You.
Why does everyone hate me?
It was Granny all along. I'm melting. Nice Charlton Heston impression. Uh-oh. Now that's some big fugly right there. It's Gogeta! Yep, reload. Reload. I reload. I reload. Ow. Reload faster, Ethan. What did I give you that stabilizer for? Whoa. We're going up. We're going up. Ow.
I just wanted a family.
Oh. You looking a little fucked up there, Ethan? Hello.
Use it!
time for my big gun. Hey! Granny, what big eyes you have! Granny, what big teeth you have! Oh, I'll admit that that was probably the most lackluster boss fight of the entirety of Ethan's story in the primary campaign. Resident Evil games have a tendency to peter out at the end, where they just lose their momentum. And who is this? Nice tactical gear. Looks very Umbrella Security Service, or Umbrella Special Service, whatever they're called.
I'm Redfield.
Not my Chris Redfield!
The fuck took you guys so long?
I'm glad they went back to his original character design in the 8th installment, because that looks nothing like Chris. I don't care how old he's gotten, his face is completely different.
Mia,
Hey, she's alive.
you made it. I'm glad.
Did I?
Umbrella? Umbrella?
They
The
say
plot
that when one door
thickens!
closes, another opens. Well, a door closed tonight. And what a long night it was. But not just for me. Me and I weren't the only victims here. So were the Bakers.
And everyone they
It
murdered.
was that thing, Eveline, who made them that way. But now Eveline's dead. And these guys are here to clean up the mess.
Yeah, just like Tricell at the end of Resident Evil
And just
Degeneration.
come to terms with losing Mia.
It's an interesting way of
Now she's
interpreting
back and this is
cleaning up
over.
the mess.
Put all this behind us. Maybe this is where the next door opens.
There's still the Baker children to deal with, but that's what the DLC is for. Oh. This is a game that, like, weirdly gives its intro as the credits. Because this is basically the intro.
Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody that everybody's dead. I was raised in a deep, dark hole, a prisoner with no parole. They locked me up and took my soul. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody that everybody's. Call to him and he will come. She'll run to him like he's the one. His arms outstretched, but when she's done, he'll be torn apart.
Was that sufficiently creepy for all of you? As per usual, I'm letting the credits roll to give the devs their due because Lord knows they deserve it. I suppose I haven't given much in the way of closing thoughts in a lot of these credit scrolls. Resident Evil 6. The boss fights were underwhelming. Part of it's because in an effort to make the game more survival horror, which was what they were aiming for, the player's agency has been greatly reduced from previous installments. The downside of that is that a player with less ability can have huge, elaborate boss fights because you don't have the ability to physically compete with that. So you get kind of underwhelming boss fights with the Bakers. I mean, several boss fights with Jack. Let's see, there was the one in the garage, which you can actually cheese out to end in like 2 seconds if you know what you're doing. There's the chainsaw boss fight, which if you know what you're doing there is also pretty easy. Giant Jack as the black slug monster, it's just a matter of hitting him in the eyes, and then that's over. You get 2 boss battles with Marguerite, although I struggle to call the first one when you're in the pit to really be a boss fight. It's kind of like your first fight with Jack, there's not a whole lot to it. Second one is just frustrating because she does tend to take cheap shots and she summons minions, which is always a pain in the ass when you're doing a boss fight. And then, of course, we have, at the end, Eveline, which I struggle to even call a boss fight because most of it is scripted. It wouldn't have mattered how many times I shot the giant Eevee head. You get knocked out, she picks you up, you get dragged around, you hit her 1 or 2 more times, she drops you, you get the big, you know, samurai edge, and then you finish her off. She's pretty much scripted to die when you hit her with the samurai edge. I think you do have to make a certain number of shots based on difficulty, but fundamentally it's kind of like the end of the Ustanak boss fight, which, depending on when you're watching this, I haven't aired that yet. There were technical issues. I'll probably be covering it when I actually do air it. But the Ustanak boss fight at the end of RE6 became very QTE cutscene cinematic-y as opposed to, you know, an actual straight-up boss fight. And people have often pointed out that Resident Evil does not have the best boss fights, and the point I made before is also true, that it loses momentum at the end. And that whole final section, the whole survival horror thing kind of evaporated because I had a half a dozen or more weapons, I had loads of ammunition. On higher difficulties, of course, where you're getting less and you have to deal with tougher opponents, that probably wouldn't be the case, but you definitely feel a tonal shift when you go from the sort of Ethan to the Mia section, which the Mia section, admittedly, because of your limited agency, definitely feels a lot... You have a much greater sense of anxiety, because there are creatures here, and you've got no means of defending yourself, and I've made that point that in horror games, the player's agency determines the kind of sort of scares you get. When the player has an ability to effectively resist the opponent, fear tends to disappear. Now, when you're looking at harder difficulties of, say, like RE2 or 3 Remake, where ammunition is extremely rare, and the amount it takes to put down one enemy is obscene, you have a means of defending yourself, but it's not actually effective. There's no point shooting the zombie, because you'll run through all your ammunition, and it still won't be dead. There you get a sense of, oh crap, what am I going to do? Because, sure, you can fight back, but it's not going to do anything. The player loses that agency to resist, and then you have a sense of fear. And I can understand the notion of, like, well, sure, if you go for a higher difficulty, that's what you're going to get. Fine. The problem is, tonally, it means that the only way you're going to be playing the game as intended is on the highest difficulty. You could call that a choose-your-own gameplay experience type of thing. Excuse me. You could go through RE2 blasting. I pretty much did. in my LP, which, if you're following this month's events, you've already seen part or most of it. You can go through RE3 blasting even more so. You get bigger guns, better guns, and the dodge mechanic. But if you try that on the higher difficulties, you're dead. Those games become survival horror as you go for a higher difficulty. Now, you can play them as survival horror on lower difficulties. You don't need to blast your way through them. They're designed so that you don't have them, but here's the thing. I don't know how much credit time I have to talk your ear off, so I'm just going to keep going until I run out, but I have this idea, or this notion, that survival horror as a genre kind of was a byproduct of the technical limitations surrounding the first games that coined it as a genre. So like original Resident Evil 2, stuff like that. You're talking about an era in sort of the early days of console 3D where having a detailed 3D character and a 3D backdrop was not really possible. So they use pre-rendered backdrops. They look great. You can focus more polygons on the character to make them look better. However, a requirement of those pre-rendered backdrops is fixed camera angles. And that's great for horror, because you go around a corner and you don't see what's there until you're already in the shit around the corner, and shit, there's a zombie there that I couldn't see because the camera hadn't turned. And it feels cheap, but it actually works for the genre. When things went full 3D and you have like full camera control and everything, the survival horror thing kind of falls flat on its face, because it was a byproduct of a workaround for that technical limitation, and everything sort of gelled together nicely. And I think that's part of the reason why, starting with RE4, when the camera was free and everything was fully 3D, there was a tonal shift from survival horror to action, and you can feel a shift running through the first three games. They became more action-oriented. You have a lot more firepower in 2 earlier on than you do in 1, and in 3 even more so. So that tonal shift existed even before the technical change that sort of encouraged a switch of genre away from survival horror to action horror. And I think trying to recapture that survival horror thing is maybe doomed by the fact that without those technical limitations, all you're doing is sort of aping those technical limitations. Look at the remaster or the remake of Resident Evil 0 and the original Resident Evil, where they kept the fixed camera angles. They didn't need to, they were just doing it because it worked back then, but then you have something that's entirely unoriginal. It's just, you know, oh, they did it in the first game, and I guess you could say that because it's a remake, it doesn't necessarily have to be original. But then what's the point? You have to put in something new. You have to inject some new element in there to justify the remake, because if you're just going to make it prettier, what's the point? There is no point. I mean, the game played just as well. I abhor this obsession with everything has to be pretty, 4K, ultra high def. Some of my favorite games are pixelated. I mean, for God's sakes, such predisposition on appearance. Get over yourselves. Well, I was able to make my point before the credits ran out. That's nice. Oh. You know what? I'm gonna put a challenge out there to all of you. If you have actually listened to me rant through these credits, comment that you did so, because I'm curious to see how many of the viewers actually sit through my credit rants. So if you're here now, if you've listened to me through the credits, comment that I was there at the end. That's what you comment. I was there at the end. God, that took 8 hours. 8 restarts. Mr. Everywhere. 75%, that's not bad. Most of the antique coins, just files obtained. I was a little short there. Items. They're tracking my item boxes. God. Thanks for that. Well, this has been the Vast Nexus playing Resident Evil 7. It's not over yet because... see if I can pull it up here. We've got DLC. I might not do banned footage, but Not a Hero's definitely going to be coming on. So is End of Zoe. Find out what happened to the Baker's children. I'll consider the rest of this, but yeah, definitely expect Not a Hero and End of Zoe. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, you should know what to do by now. I hope everyone still watching at this point is staying happy and healthy out there in these times. And, as always, fare thee well.